guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about what to look for in a medical billing and coding program, and should it have an internship included? If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, so I got this comment from a viewer and they said, "Hello, I have seen some of your videos on your YouTube channel. I'm trying to learn more about medical billing and coding. I'm starting a program. Should it have a section for clinical/internship hours?" So here's the thing, when you are deciding on a program, some of you will have an internship that is included and some of you won't. The thing about internships is it's not as in-depth a lot of times as a lot of people think that it will be. A lot of times people will think that, oh, if they get an internship, then they're going to get some experience with working and coding and things like that. So the thing with this is internships there's an agreement that has to be made between the school and the place that you are interning, okay? You have to sign legal documents that say you will not be out there sharing information willy-nilly, okay? This is not just, oh, pick any place and then just go right in because you're a student. No, there's signed paperwork that has to be on file, and you have to go through a lot of steps in order to go into these internships. When you go into an internship, it does not necessarily mean that you're going to actually get any experience with coding or with billing, because first of all, you're a student and you have no experience, and yes, you've been through the school, but your purpose of being there while you're observing is to observe. It is to observe. It is to be quiet and look and pay attention to all the things that they are showing you. Sometimes they'll have you looking at the electronic health record and sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll have somebody demonstrating it for you and then sometimes they won't. It really all depends on the place. But 99.999% of the time, all you're going to do is observe. They may have you doing minor things like, if they need copies made of something for whatever reason, they may have you doing that. They may have you scanning documents. They may have you just sit in on meetings. That's all what an internship is. It is not actively like getting records and coding them. And even if they have you code records, all they're going to do is just check your work to see. So a few years ago, because I'm one of a handful of AHIMA credentialed holders at my hospital, I was asked to be the person who worked with the intern that came over from the college, and they were getting their Bachelor's of Science in Health Information Management. So obviously this person was going to be eligible to sit for the RHIA. Well, part of the RHIA, or the Bachelor of Science in Health Information Management, or even Health Informatics and Information Management, will cover coding, but it's a very small portion of it. It's not, to get a college degree does not mean that you know coding, okay? It does not mean that. The only one that really kind of covers it a little bit more, but not as in-depth as you might think, is the associate's degree. But the bachelor's degree, again, that is mostly leadership. It is mostly the HR side of the house for health information. So that's something you got to keep in mind. But I was the person's mentor, if you will. And so when he came to me, he was like, okay, I'm just supposed to sit here and observe you. And I said, okay. So what I have is I keep a collection of redacted records for education purposes. Okay, so what I have on my files is redacted records, which there's no patient information on this at all. This is just for educational purposes. So there's no patient information, and these are examples of good records, and they're also examples of bad records. So what I had him do, because I asked him, I was like, what is the thing that you're curious about the most with coding? He said, well, I don't understand E&M. And I said, okay. I said, would you like to try practicing like coding something? He said, oh, I would love it. So I pull out that record that is a good example of what evaluation and management looks like. And I had him sit there. He had all his books and everything. He had the tool and stuff. And I said, okay, well, here you go. And so I'm sitting there and I'm doing my work and he's doing his work. And then I hear him kind of get quiet. And so then I said, okay, well, how's it going over there? And he's like, I'm kind of lost. So we had a little class about evaluation and management, and I explained it to him. He was like, somebody tried to explain this to me yesterday and it did not make sense. So he goes, okay, I understand it now. I get it now. So, okay, good. And so we were able to work through and break it down. He said, well, this makes a lot of sense. He goes, and I get it now. I understand like what my purpose is with this degree. I said, good. I said, but it's very important that you understand the coding because they're going to come to you to settle those arguments. And you have to be able to settle them. And for you to say, well, I can't because I don't really know about this, that's not a good thing. And then he said, yeah, I'm going to have to practice. He goes, but it makes so much more sense now. So I was like, good. But I had that ready for him. He was not going to enter that in. That was just an encounter for him to look at, for him to work with, for him to get some practice. So that's what he did with me. I gave him a few more and he worked out some that were procedures and things like that. So he was like, this is really neat that you keep this kind of stuff. And I was like, well, when I have new providers coming in, a lot of times they want to see something. They want to know, like, okay, what is it you're talking about? Because coding to them is like another language, which it technically is, And so he was like, oh, okay. So it makes it so much easier when you have something on hand. But that's me and how I handled it. Not all places that you'll have an internship will be like that. So again, don't look for that internship to say, okay, well, this is really going to teach me how to code. No, you learn coding by what you learn from the school and the times that you're putting into it. So with that said, if you pick a program and it doesn't have an internship or an externship or what is the other thing? Clinical hours. If it doesn't have that, it's okay. But if it has that, it's all right. Pay attention. And, make sure that you're engaged. Make sure that you ask questions. Don't sit there like a deer in the headlights. If they say, well, do you have any questions? No. You need to come up with questions and ask, So with that said, if it has it, great. If it doesn't, it's okay too. What to look for when you're looking at a medical billing and coding program if you choose to go through a formal program, because if you are sitting for one of the 4 main medical coding certifications, the gold standard of medical coding credentials, the CCS, the Certified Coding Specialist, the CCA, the Certified Coding Associate, the CCSP, the Certified Coding Specialist Physician Base. These 3 are with the American Health Information Management Association. Then there's the CPC, the Certified Professional Coder, and that is a credential with the American Academy of Professional Coders. Employers look for one of these 4. You do not need 2. There are schools that will push you to be, oh, well, you can be certified in both associations. Sometimes vouchers for the 2 associations credentials are included. And if that's the case, then you already paid for it. Go ahead and get them both. But if you are saying that they're saying, well, you have the option and you should get both. No, absolutely not. You don't need to get them both. You need to only have one, okay? You only need one, especially for my new people. You need one because the first 2 years is the time that you have to report continuing education units to maintain your credential. It is the time that you are looking for your first job and finding your first job and, learning all about the industry in the first 2 years. And then after that, you can decide what you want to add on or if you want to go and get a degree or any of those things. That's when you decide that. But again, if you're sitting for any of these 4, you have the option of going through a formal program or you can study on your own. I have the Independent Study Syllabus in the description box below that y'all can order. And that is not even a fraction of what it would cost to go to a school, either online or in person. Now, if you say, well, Blue, no, I need to go because I need a teacher and I need somebody to hold me accountable, this field probably isn't going to be for you because you're going to need to do a lot of independent study on your own to begin with. And I'm just being honest with you. Not all teachers who teach should be teachers. I'm just going to be straight up with you. Some of them are, overburdened with a lot of students. And then they get very frustrated. Some of them have never learned how to properly teach. There are teaching methods for different learning styles, and some people don't know this. And some people who teach are not competent. They're not competent because either they haven't been out in the real world coding, or they haven't been coding for several years. They've never even been a coder. They just have education behind them and that's about it, and they can basically teach from a book, but they can't teach critical thinking. So there's many things that can happen if you have a teacher, okay? So there are some teachers out there that are fantastic. Don't ask me where they are. I don't know, but I am assuming that there are some that are fantastic, okay? But it again, it all depends. It depends on the effort of the student as well, because sometimes teachers will be at their wits' end, especially if they have instructed you properly, if they've given you all the resources, if they have told you this is how you got to do it from point A, point B, point C, point D, and you're still standing around asking questions because you've got other things on your mind and you've got kids to raise and you've got a family and you've got a busy life. You're the one who picked this field. You're the one who picked it. No one picked it for you. You picked it. 99.999% of the time, you're the one who picked it. And this is what it is going to require, is 20 hours per week that you have to put in personal effort into studying. And if you say, well, I don't really understand this, and my teacher shames me because I'm asking so many questions. Okay, but if you're asking questions that she's already explained to you or he's already explained to you, do we understand that that's the reason why? Because you're not paying attention? Or even if the teacher is not so good and you're sitting there basically slamming your hams talking to a brick wall because this teacher is not a good teacher. So instead of wasting time and then turning on the, oh, I have a terrible teacher, that's why I didn't learn, I spent all this money. No. This is when we need to say, okay, we need to accept we got a terrible teacher in this deal. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit down, we're going to look at these books, we're going to get on LinkedIn, find a mentor who can help us for free, right? Mentor can help you for free. Or you can find a tutor. Tutor you have to pay for, but that's an investment in your learning. And especially if you're stuck on a particular subject, it may help you to be able to have somebody to explain it to you one-on-one. So that's where you can't cheap out. And I'm not saying that, you have to spend all this money, but also at the same time, if you're willing to invest thousands of dollars to not really know about what you're going to get, and you're just blindly spending money, or you're, heaven forbid, getting a student loan to cover the cost of learning medical billing and coding, you're setting yourself up for heartache. Because I'm telling you right now, if you look at the websites for these associations, it will say that you can have experience or you can study on your own. You do not have to go through a formal program. Okay, I'm just telling you right now. But again, if you're going to insist on going to a formal program and it is fast-paced, you're going to need to supplement study. Okay, and fast-paced is anything that is less than 9 months. Now, AAPC's program works out to about 8 months. I'm not talking about that, guys. Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about these shiesty places. Oh, 6 months and less, you can learn medical billing and coding. 2 months, you can learn medical billing and coding. Be on your way to make this high salary garbage. That's what I'm talking about. You may as well just throw your money in the trash can at that point if you're getting into a program that's that short. It's ridiculous, disgusting, and it makes me sick when I see programs out there that are like that, because it is these programs that are out here pumping out incompetent people. This is not a personal dig at you. This is because this salesperson is selling the career field, getting a lot of people into this career field who are not trained properly, who are not competent, who are not ready, and they're out here complaining and crying and saying, oh, I've been looking for years and I still can't find a job. Then why are you continuing to look then? Obviously, right? Because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing so that you can get a job. Nobody who's putting in the effort will be that lost for so long. Did you hear me? Nobody who's not putting in the effort that they should be will be lost for that long. You have to put in effort. This will not be handed to you. It is not easy to learn. It is not easy to get your first job. But if you stick with it and if you are determined, you will be able to get it. And believe me, if you can be determined about all kinds of silly things, you can be determined about this. You can be determined about your future as a medical coder. Okay? So if the program is 2 months or 4 months or 6 months. Oh, you'll be on your way. Avoid that like the plague. You want a program that is 9 months, 12 months, or 18 months. That's what you want. And no, you do not have to go to these expensive colleges that are going to add on additional classes that you don't even need, okay? Because some of them will say, well, in order to take medical coding 1, you got to have this kind of prerequisite. And I see all those classes that they have. I'm like, really? That has nothing to do with what we're doing. That is just for the school. That is just for the school. So don't do that, okay? Don't do that. Don't ask me about specific schools, because I have said before in the past, I've said it many times, I don't have relationships with any of these schools. The only 3 ways I have ever said to learn that I can recommend is because these are the safest methods. Independent self-study. Again, my independent self-study syllabus is in the description box below that you can order. It is the one that you can order. I do not have a free version up anymore because there was too many people being ungrateful. The second place is to go directly to the American Health Information Management Association. They have their 13 course bundle. You can purchase those courses a la carte, which means you can purchase them one at a time, and you can take your time. If you purchase the whole 13 course bundle in one sitting, they will give you 365 days to complete it. They will not give you an extension if you do not complete it in 1 year. So you have 13 courses to complete in 1 year. You also have to purchase the books in addition to the cost of the course. So I think the cost of the course is $29.95. $2,995. Don't quote me on that, because that was what it was the last time I remember. But it's the whole 13 course bundle. But again, you have to purchase the books separately in order for those things to make sense. They're slide decks, basically. Okay, so just so you know, okay. Then there's the American Academy of Professional Coders. They have their own medical coding course. They have a medical coding course, medical billing and coding course, and then they also have their anatomy and medical terminology courses separate. Do not skip those. Yes, it is a separate course, but it is necessary. It is necessary. If you skip that, you will be lost on the coding, because this is not like looking up words in a dictionary. Medical coding is not like looking up words in a dictionary. It is literally about understanding and comprehending the coding guidelines and knowing your sequencing rules and making sure that you're reading the coding guidelines so that you understand all of those things. We are on week 2 of the coding guidelines challenge. Every year I hold a medical coder challenge, and it is to read the coding guidelines, the ICD-10-CM coding guidelines, 4 times in the month of October. Basically, you're reading them one whole week, taking a week to read them in their entirety. This is a great foundational building exercise for coders. It's a fantastic way to get your discipline in as well, so that way you can become a faster reader. But again, I've advertised this, and y'all said, oh yes, I'm excited. Are y'all doing it? Y'all are not saying, because I posted checking in and no one's responded yet. So the challenge is out there. You can download the ICD-10-CM coding guidelines for free from the CMS website. All you have to do is Google ICD-10-CM coding guidelines 2025 if you're going to take your test this year, or 2026 for next year. Okay, so those are the 3 ways that I can recommend to learn. Those are the 3 ways, okay? And so that's what you have to know when you're out there looking for a medical billing and coding program. If you find yourself in a fast-paced medical coding program that is not helping you, that is not teaching you, you need to get what you can from that program, all of the materials, the learning materials, no matter how good or how bad they are. Get everything that you can, all the things that you paid for. That's just a loss. Take it as a loss. Don't quit the program, because some of you are looking for that too. You want validation to quit, and I will never give it to you, because you don't quit. You don't quit until you complete something, okay? Finish it, complete it, because you paid for it. But it's a wash. Don't worry about it. But let it go. Whatever it is, whatever amount of money it is, you just let it go, okay? Sometimes it's a hard lesson to learn, but it's a lesson. That's all it is. And we learn lessons to teach us in life. That's it. And because of that, we're going to move on. right? We're not going to sit here and dwell on it because that's just going to waste more time, and it's going to do nothing but build resentment in you because, you lost all this money. And is that worth it? No, it is not worth it. Now, when there's this wonderful career field out there that is just waiting for you. Okay, so look for something that is reasonable. Again, 9 months, 12 months, or 18 months. If you're about to sign up with this program, you ask them to speak to the instructor, especially if you're going into a place to learn at like a local college. Ask them to speak with the instructor. If you're giving them thousands of dollars, or if you're getting a student loan and it's going to be thousands of dollars that you're going to get yourself into debt for, which you do not need to, but if you're going to get yourself into debt, you better make sure that you know what you're purchasing, right? So if you go and you ask that teacher questions, if they are rude, if they are impatient or dismissive, is that the teacher that you want? No. And you can say thank you for your time, and you can go find another medical billing and coding program. If the recruiter for the school is pressuring you, saying, oh yes, well, we have a really good deal right now and it's only good till the end of the month and you got to sign up because then you're going to get this discounted rate, that's also a load of garbage too. Because trust me, these programs have deals all the time. Don't be rushed into signing on that dotted line when you're not sure and you haven't done your due diligence. You need to do your due diligence and make sure that you ask questions. And spending a bunch of money on a program does not equate to this is going to be a fantastic place. It's going to teach me all that I need to know. There is a school out there that charges $40,000 for a credential that is a certificate. It's not even a credential. It is a certificate that is not even asked for in the industry. $40,000, and it is not one of these 4 main medical coding certifications. And I'm like, are you serious? So that's just what you got to know out there, guys. If you're not doing your research, oh yeah, you will be taken advantage of, and they will not hesitate. They will not hesitate. Okay, I'm just telling y'all the truth because I have no dog in the fight. Meaning that if you get into coding or not, it has no bearing in my life. I already have my dream career. Okay. But it's up to you, all right? And again, I'm just here just to tell you that this is what this is like. Does it matter if they have an internship, externship, or some kind of clinical hours? No. Can you get something out of it? If they do, maybe not. It all depends on the place. Because sometimes people just go and then they show up and then it's somebody that they're already too busy doing their own work that's not what they signed up for to teach anybody. So they're just going to sign off on that paperwork so that person can just, say that they fulfilled all those hours, unfortunately. Okay. So it really all depends on the person and how they make the experience for the student. But they don't have to, because are they getting paid for it? Probably not. Okay. So that's just something that you have to know. So make sure that your program covers medical terminology, anatomy, pathophysiology, along with the coding. But those 3 things, anatomy, medical terminology, pathophysiology, those are all very important for coders to know. Pharma is also important for coders to know. Okay, there's certain words I can't fully say, so that's why I say pharma. So you do those things and make sure that you're studying and you'll be okay. Again, if you have a program that is less than stellar, it doesn't mean that you have to be a less than stellar coder. Okay, you can learn on your own. And for those of you who say, well, no, I'm blue, I'm lost, and I it's just so much, you just pick one thing at a time and you go with that. If it is the coding that's tripping you up, but it's because you don't understand the medical terminology, then what do we need to do? Learn the medical terminology. And we're not going to take the time to learn whole words. We're going to learn prefixes, suffixes, and root words. And once we get those down, and it's not that many of them, you can start piecing words together and things will start to make sense. Okay? But medical coders have a duty and responsibility, and even medical billers, to learn all of these things, medical terminology, anatomy, and patho. We have a responsibility to learn this, because it is not up to the providers to, for lack of a better word, dumb it down for us. It is not their responsibility to do that. It is up to us to rise to the challenge. They've had over a decade to learn about the medical field. Medical coders have 9 months, 12 months, or 18 months. That's why I say, if you got into a fast-paced medical coding program, use that extra time to supplement, okay, before you start trying to take tests and things like that and get out there in the world of coding. Make sure that you are practicing on your own 20 hours per week. But that is my advice today anyway. So no short programs. Interview the teacher and ask them, what is your policy about asking questions? What is the average time it takes for you to get back to a student? Because if they say, well, I have 55 students and, sometimes it'll take me about a week to get back to you, that's not a place that you want to be, because that teacher can't handle, if they can't handle 55 students and it takes them a week to get back to you, because yes, they've got other things going on, that's too long. That's too long. You need somebody who's going to be able to turn around a question very quickly, okay? Or point you to a resource that can help you, okay? But again, you also need to be being proactive and looking stuff up on your own. You shouldn't be running to the teacher every single time. I'm just saying, because again, for a lot of you, you're going to get extra sensitive and say, oh, she's just so mean. This is the thing that just gets to me, is that when y'all say, oh, she's so mean, she's so dismissive. No, trust me. You think that I'm mean and dismissive? You wait till you get out in the real world, and when you start getting up against some of these doctors, they're going to have very little patience for you because you don't know what you're doing. And, oh, well, you're changing my codes. How dare you? If you can't stand up on your own 2 feet and be able to explain why, because 95% of the time they're not going to select the right codes. If you can't stand up on your own 2 feet and explain, well, actually, because of this guideline and because of this, and this is the reason that I did this. If you can't do that, and if you just buckle and say, oh, well, that's what the provider wanted, you are responsible for every single code that you are selecting. I would have to be able to go and answer as to why did I select this code, as all coders do. We have to explain, and I cannot sit here and blame somebody else and say, oh, my supervisor said to do it, or the doctor said that he wanted that. You're the one who signed off on it. You're the one who pushed that code through. It is your responsibility. So we have a huge responsibility, and that takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of self-accountability, which a lot of people nowadays lack. And they take that as if it's somebody's trying to get you to be accountable, oh, they take it as you're just being mean. Really, people? Really? I'm just saying. So with that said, those are the things you need to do to prepare yourself and to keep yourself from being taken advantage of. Okay, I'm just saying. So with that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time.